works into the topic. It was like we said, it's all just in the mindset of how you want to play the game. I didn't care for Grand Theft Auto, like I said. The story itself was not really that great for me, so I just played the game the way that I would have played it through the story anyway, by skipping the story. I just went and made a bunch of police officers angry, and then had them chase me throughout the streets for 30, 45 minutes at a time, and it would just be a game for me to see how long I could live.
Cat and mouse.
I tried not to drop any stars. So,
and I think a lot of people played it that way. That's one of the arguments of why the later games have kind of failed on that level, because the whole star system is so different that
it's too easy.
You've still made the point about how you can take a hardcore game and play it casually. I just mentioned Counter-Strike. I have not played Counter-Strike in any kind of serious manner since back in the day where I actually played it online. And I still play it. I just pop in, I have some fun with it, and I go away. I'm not ashamed to admit that, when I get killed in a match and I'm in a hurry, I'll use the whole bot kill command to kill everybody else off so I can get back into the game again. Because I'm there to play it. I'm not there for a score.
I play games fairly similar to that. The only one that I can honestly say that I don't consider myself a casual player of is World of Warcraft. And that's just because the game takes a lot of time anyway. And so I figured that, if I'm going to spend that much time on a game, then I might as well, play the game, the way that... But that being said, when they announced pet battles, I feel silly for even saying this, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to level up my character when the game launched, or whether I wanted to fight those pet battles and level up my pets.
You can't do both?
You can, but you can't do both easily at the same time, especially when your pets are going to be level 1, and the Mists of Pandaria Zone pets, they're not going to be level 1. They're going to be up in the 20s. Unless they've changed it, the last I heard, the maximum pet level is level 25.
Give some extra life to the game, so when you've done everything else, you at least have that to look forward to. Which is why I think, despite some of the claims against the whole thing, I think it's a brilliant idea.
I agree. It's one of the things that I've been looking forward to. I like Pokemon. It's not, I can't say that, because I know people that play it really hardcore, and to this day, if I'm not mistaken, they still have Pokemon tournaments. Mm-hmm. So
there's still a lot of streams out there playing Pokemon.
Yep.
Granted, most of the streams that I see are pretty much dominated by StarCraft and League of Legends and Minecraft, but there's still a lot of Pokemon out there. Matter of fact, people are making their own little mini games. There's one in particular that's really popular. Maybe I'll edit this in when I can pick the name of it. But there's a specific little, I guess you'd call self-imposed mode that when one of your Pokemon passes out, you delete it. You get rid of it.
I've heard of that. I haven't done it, but I've heard of it. Imagine if you lost your starting Pokemon, you could never get that back.
You'd have to start all over. Mm-hmm. If you didn't already have another one, grab
that. From trading and stuff.
Yeah. To me, that's not a casual thing. That's a hardcore thing. Even though that's kind of related to what you were doing by making your own little missions in Grand Theft Auto. As a casual way of approaching the game, there are hardcore ways approaching even a casual game, making it harder for yourself, so you have to spend more time, more focus.
It's just adding an extra layer of difficulty to a game, which game developers, disappointingly, are trying to do by themselves, and it doesn't end up working in a way that I like.
Now, this is probably where I should mention the series of Dark Souls and Demon Souls, but I honestly know so little about that game. I already tread on a lot of territory that I probably shouldn't because I'm uneducated in a lot of games these days. There's just so much out there, and with me kind of handicapped in what systems I have, that makes it kind of difficult to get on board with some of these games and to actually dig in and talk about them. But there is a very big community that just loves the daylights out of those games because of their difficulty.
The latest one, there's actually a more difficult version of it available on Steam that I had been considering picking up because I haven't played I've never played either of those games. But when they put it on Steam, I saw it and it looked kind of interesting, so I considered getting it, but I decided that I would probably just get angry, so I decided not to get it. Not yet, anyway. I might still...
Save it for one of the Steam sales.
Yes.
So we mentioned casual games. We've mentioned hardcore games, but I think the true casual games that we should mention are the social games.
Yes.
Now, largely that's dominated largely by the Facebook. By the Facebook. I noticed what I did there. And popularized by Zynga in particular, even though there's dozens upon dozens of companies. There's Electronic Arts out there with Sims. Square has a Final Fantasy one. Everybody is trying to get in on the social market. And I cannot blame them for that because there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of these microtransactions that's just making this a boom, at least as long as Facebook is still around. And I'm not going to make any kind of comments about Facebook's stock market prices these days. I'll just leave that alone. But yeah, what do you feel about that kind of casual gaming?
I actually have apps blocked on my Facebook. I get requests for things all the time, and since I have my Facebook linked to my phone, all it does is just bomb my phone. So I ended up blocking those things. I don't play them anyway. I don't find them interesting. It's just not... I mean, I'll play a casual game, but for whatever reason, I don't find Facebook games interesting, or...
So by and large...
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you, sorry.
That's okay. I just don't find them interesting.
So by and large, you haven't actually even bothered with them at all?
No, not at all.
Now, it's been a couple of years. I think it's been about 2 years now that I actually did start getting into them because I was kind of weird about Facebook because Facebook's little thing about handing out information that they probably shouldn't have been handing out and how they didn't actually log you out even when you logged out, so there was information leaks there too. So I was always kind of worried about it. But just about every other person I knew was on Facebook, and they were encouraging me to get on there too, especially for work purposes, to make social contact. So I finally caved in and got on there, and it did not take long before people were saying, hey, come join me on this game. That was kind of ended up being a mistake. I mentioned before, I believe in the last episode, about how I would just, hours of my day would just disappear, and I wasn't necessarily even having fun with the game. It was just, I need to get back to this garden for this 5-minute or this 30-minute or this 2-hour crop that's going to pop up, or I have to get back here to fight this guy in Mafia Wars. It was just kind of taking over way too much of my time for something that should be considered a casual game.
And that is something that I actually do want to point out. And it's what you said. You said that you weren't really having fun with the game, you just felt that you needed to play it. And I've noticed that a lot of Facebook games, when I talk to people that play them, say very similar things. They're not doing it because they find it fun, they're doing it because they feel they need to. And what brings that feeling of need in there, I really don't know.
There's an addictive quality to it. It's the same sort of thing that you see actually in MMOs, it's just taken to a whole other level that may be kind of shady, but it's about the leveling up. It's about getting all the new goodies. There's a ton of collectible stuff in these type of games. Mafia Wars in particular, I can't begin to imagine how many items are on there now. And there was probably 1,000, 2,000 back in the day when I was actually still playing. And there's now a Mafia Wars 2. So it's largely about starting small and watching it grow and grow and grow. But I think there's a point for a lot of players, and this is kind of what happened to me, that once they get to a certain point and they realize all of this growth actually doesn't accomplish anything, that at best it's kind of like the whole neighbor versus neighbor who's got the prettier yard type of thing. Once it gets to that point, there just doesn't seem to be any point to it. Now, if you're like riding on the bus back and forth to work, or you have a couple of minutes at your job and you happen to have a desk job where you work on a computer a lot, and you need those moments to kind of break your concentration so you don't go nuts, I can see these games kind of filling that void where you can't put a lot of focus or concentration into something. So it's just that little touch of, hey, get me out of this zone, put me in a little fantasy for a moment, and then pull right back out again. It's just, I noticed way too often with myself that all of those little clocks ticking down to the next point of energy that you get, or the next time the crop grows up, or the next time you're allowed to attack somebody, that those little clocks are superimposed in your brain, and you feel like it's almost a job, something like you have to do, or you're doing something wrong, you're not playing the game right. I don't know. It was a very weird feeling because I usually do not get addicted to games like that.
I think World of Warcraft is probably the only game that is remotely like that I could say that I am somewhat addicted to. It's not so much an addiction, and I use this a lot. I tell people that by playing World of Warcraft, I actually save myself money because I'm not out buying other games.
This is true.
I do that to an extent anyway, so it's not completely true.
You do schedule a lot of your time around what you do on World of Warcraft. And that is kind of a sign that you are addicted to it. When your life... Now, you're not exactly putting life aside to play it. Let me make that clear. There's a lot of people that do that. I think that's a very self-destructive sort of thing. And I can't necessarily blame the player alone for it, because companies that make these games, they know what they're doing. They're trying to get you addicted because it's what makes you play the game. Now, it's not always because they're trying to maliciously destroy your life, like some people might be claiming, as I'm sure there's lawyers gearing up for that as we speak. But I think there is this point that I derailed myself. Okay. I think there's this point where we kind of have to make a decision about where a game that takes so much of our focus becomes part of our life. I mean, we're not talking about reality versus fantasy here. We're just talking about gaming sessions that run a little bit too much into our personal lives. And it's something I hear all the time on reviewers, from streamers. These are people that get paid to play video games, and they still realize that every now and then they need to kind of rearrange things to make sure it comes first.
It is too easy to go ahead and pass up on something because you want to hit that next level, or because you want to find the next item. In a lot of games, and not just WoW or Diablo. Every game has some version of that in it, almost every game. Whether it be item, levels, gold, or just hidden items or secrets or Easter eggs that you hear about that you want to see for yourself.
And it doesn't even have to necessarily be a specific goal. It's just you're having so much fun or so into the competition of it. I hear this with fighting game people all the time, that they play really late into the night, not even paying attention at the time. They just let it kind of slip by them. And they're going to bed at 3, 4, 5 o'clock and have to get up in the next day at 8 or 9.
I've done that when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out. I decided that I wanted to play competitively at it, and I did that a fair number of times. I didn't actually reach my goal because I ended up getting bored with the game. But, I did do that, so I know this statement.
Well, there's some games out there anyway that you just want to spend that extra little time. You just got it. It's brand new. You're having a ton of fun. You want to beat one more level before you go to bed. I don't know if I call that hardcore. I think I would just call that enjoying the game. You're willing to put a little extra time in it, because come next week after you've already beat the game, I doubt you're going to do that again.
You still played that game hardcore for that moment, though.
True.
See, that's the other thing. I don't think it's relevant to how much time you spend in the game over a month. I think you could narrow it down as it's how much time you actually played the game during the moments, the weeks or the days or the months that you were actively playing the game, versus how much time you spent not playing the game during those same moments.
And I'm glad you made that point, because I did kind of gloss that in the wrong direction.